On your right. Sir, इधर देखिए. Center. Sir, you are right. Yeah, yeah, center. Sir, here. अभिषेक सर एकदम सामने. एक मिनट. सर नहीं हुआ. सर थोड़ा सा है बस.
तो स्ट्रेट यहाँ.
क्या कर रहे हैं? हाँ सर जी एकदम सामने. सर यहाँ पे. कम से कम. सर यहाँ पे. सर अभिषेक सर. सर यहाँ. सर यहाँ. बस सर इधर देखिए. अतुल सर इकडे. इकडे समोर बघा समोर. अतुल सर इकडे. सेंटर. एकदम समोर. उसको बोल ना. सर इकडे. अतुल सर. हो गया बंद. चिपकाना उधर अभी अभी तो ऐसा नहीं बस हम एकदम सेंटर सर राइट साइड राइट साइड हाँ सर मॅडम समोर बघा समोर नाही मी तर देखाय नाही मॅडम थोडे घे समोर मॅडम एकदम सेंटर सेंटर मॅडम समोर एकदम समोर बंद कर देते तो चालू मत हो गया ना अभी तो चालू मत उमी उमी अभी मैम से उमी सर बस समोर इकडे मॅडम इकडे समोर समोर मॅडम इकडे समोर सोनाली मॅडम समोर मॅडम समोर ओ पेपर सर पेपर छोड़ दो ना मेरा शो फ्लो है एकदम सामने भाग जाएगा अरे हटाओ ना your right. I'm in the center. I'm in the center. मैडम एक मिनट एकदम सामने देखिए मैम स्ट्रेट मैम लेफ्ट मैम यहाँ पे मैडम जी एक मिनट लेफ्ट मैम सेंटर मैम सेंटर हियर सेंटर प्लीज मैम हियर मैम हियर मैम हियर मैम हियर टीना जी एकदम सामने सर यहाँ पे देखा ही नहीं अपना जगह चेंज हो गया
Okay. No, I just hope that we celebrate her work in the nicest way, and she deserves all the success, all the love, and I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very quickly. Just again, are you excited to be here? Are you?
Of course, you know, I'm a big fan of Twinkle Khanna herself, for the person that she is, her columns, her first book, Miss Funny Bones, I completely adored. I finished it on my holiday, and I'm dying to read The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad, and I'm really dying to be on stage. I'm so honoured to be a part of this book launch in such a personal way.
Is that? Have you had a chance to read it yet?
I've not had a chance to read the full book, but I have read a couple of passages since I'm going to be reading. So I'm really excited, but I can't wait to get my hands on this baby.
In India's Zindagi, you are being dragged for your bad jokes, right? So clearly, having a funny bone is something that you celebrate. So, you know, I'm sure there's
I'm very appreciative of those who have the funny bone as well. And I'm very appreciative especially of Twinkle, because her funny bone is absolutely funny. No, but hers is on another level. Like, if it was the Coffee with Karan episode, it was a racket. I was laughing and falling down on the floor. So I'm really happy to be here for her today, and really I'm glad that she wanted me to be a part of it.
And आलिया आरडीएल जिंदगी को यूएस सर्टिफिकेट भी मिल चुका है, तो
वो उसके बारे में बाद में बात करेंगे. आज इसके बारे में मैं वापस आऊंगी सर.
सर आपके साथ
Thank you.
So we've got that right. We are here to praise Twinkle. Let's just clap for her again. Chiki said it all. I think that we all know that truly it's more about the legend of Twinkle Khanna now, after the legend of Lakshmi Prasad.
After being on Coffee with Karan, yeah, I think.
I have to put this out. She refused my first film. I had a bit of a broken heart then. But in my heart, I said that one day I'm going to make this girl more famous than she is. And there it was this Sunday. The one television show. I've just decided to tell you, you may be #1 at Crosswords, or you may be #1 on the Amazon. You ain't fighting the TRPs of Coffee with Karan this Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really sorry. No matter how brilliant she is, I finally made her famous. What do you have to say?
Thank you, Karan. But I think it was the joke about where you hide your mic that made me famous on Coffee with Karan.
I want to tell you that everybody who's messaged me after the show said, we've never seen you more stumped, more shocked, and more perplexed than you've ever been on this season. And it's true, because this is what's been happening since I've known her as a child. But secretly, as her closest friend from my years, I feel like this sense, like just today, Ranbir was like, teasing me, and he was like, you're so hyper about this book launch, like it's more important to you than what you're doing right now. And I'm like, because hidden there is a lot of love and a lot of pride for all your achievement. And I think that that's what really makes me like not be able to express it, because we have a layer of humor in our interaction. But truly, I mean, I think taking the leap that you have, I think has been amazing. And now the legend of Lakshmi Prasad, which is your bout with fiction, and all the 4 stories, which are immensely gorgeous, with their inherent, I would say there's an inherent lying feminism, which we have to talk about. But not only that, the storytelling
Is he
power.
going to stop, and do I get a chance?
No, because when you get a chance, you start talking about my hidden mind. Okay, talk.
Ask me something.
I just did. How do you feel? हाँ, क्या लग रहा है? क्या जो किरदार आपने निभाया? Isn't that what they are? मेरा character बहुत bubbly है. That's what they used to say in Lehre in the 80s. Bhavna ji will know.
No, but in Lehre in the 80s, actually, I have a video clip. Somebody sent it to me. And I'm there with this bouffant pink lipstick. And somebody's asking me about how I see things. And there I am. And I'm saying, you know, I always see things in a funny manner. I don't know if funny things happen to me or I look at them like that. So that video is probably the origin of Funny Bones. Like you have the origin of Wolverine. That is my origin video. Yeah.
Right. No, so this transition, when you wrote these 4 stories, especially the first one, which is Noni Appa, you said that went through a beat with you. You started it at age 18.
Yeah.
And something about that which I read about you, which said that you were always like this plump nerd with a book in your hand.
Yeah.
So going to Noni Appa a little later, did you ever imagine that you would be on a platform that would be about you being an author, best-selling author? Did you see that happen?
I mean, plump nerds don't get to be best-selling authors?
Well, I don't know. You said that. You said that. I don't know. I was a plump nerd and far from writing a book right now. But yeah.
So I think that this is to everyone. You know, we grow up and we need to conform to society to fit in. And my granny would always be moaning about the fact that, you know, I'm wearing dal-stained jeans, or I don't brush my hair, and I should go on. And my mother was always trying to put me on a diet. And I would tell her that, you know, I don't want to fit in with this world. Why would I want to fit into a size 4 dress? Yeah. And I think that for all the oddballs and misfits out there, eventually, if you just follow your path, you will reach somewhere where no one else has, because you are uniquely meant to do something that only you can do.
And what do you think about, like, what I read the book? There is this underlying, like, you know, feminism, deep feminism that runs through all 4 characters. Is that intentional?
So basically, after reading the book, even a lot of journalists came to me and they said, you know, with great trepidation, they asked me, are you a feminist? Almost like they were asking me, are you a Satanist or a Justin Bieber fan? But feminism is basically about wanting equal opportunities. And anybody who says that they are not and they don't believe in feminism are idiots, is what I would like to say. So, and there's my friend Nanu. We have fights for feminism, about feminism. And I think that it's very simple. Women are trying very hard to find their place in the world, which should have been theirs anyway. But unfortunately, men had the keys. They locked us in the cage, and now we are finding ways to wiggle out.
And what a way to wiggle out. So tell us about your first story. which is Noni Appa. Like you went through beats to reach that final narrative.
So Salam Noni Appa is thanks to my grandmother who dragged me to Jamaat Khanas my whole life, which she doesn't take me anymore because she claims that I can't do this Shajo Didar properly. I don't know what that is, but now she's ashamed of me. And it's a story I've been trying to write since I was 18, and I wrote it 3 times in 3 different versions. First, the protagonist was an 18-year-old girl, and then I wrote it again at 40 when the protagonist was 40, and now finally, the protagonist is Noni Appa, who's 68, and she finds love in the winter of her life, and that is what it is.
And we, of course, would love to read a passage from that.
Yes.
And we have, of course, the best actor of our industry and ever, who I'm a huge fan of, and who better than her to read a passage from this wonderful short story. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome none other than Shabana Azmi.
I hope, sorry.
And one more.
Sorry. Do you want to say something about it before I read? Would you like to? No, just a little bit. Give them a.
So Salam Noni Appa is about 2 sisters. They are Ismaili sisters. One is 68, one is 2-3 years younger. And the thing about sisters is that no matter how old you get, that banter between sisters and teasing each other doesn't seem to go. So when you're with your sister, you behave like you're 12 and 14, no matter how old you get. And this is a story, and the part that Shabana ji is about to read is about when the daughter comes back from London and she meets her mother and her aunt, and this is the conversation that they have.
In the first week of January, Malika came to visit Noni Appa from London. She got her mother and aunt a suitcase filled with imported goodies, chocolates, perfume, hair dye, and of course, the one thing that every Indian woman pesters her NRI relatives for, undergarments from Marks and Spencer. Binny eagerly took the coveted items from Malika and dramatically declared, "These British are really third-rate people. I tell you, their only saving grace lies in their first-rate bras. Their balcony-style Marks and Sparks give such good support. Height." That Friday, Binny dragged Malika to the Jamaat Khana, hoping some nice Ismaili boy would prostrate himself at her feet. In the car, Binny was chuckling away. "Malla, you know, when your father passed away, Appa was not that old, just close to 50. She would go to the Jamaat Khana in her tightly draped sari and her pink lipstick." Noni Appa interrupted. "Again the story, Binny, how many times?" Binny laughed and, ignoring her sister's protests, continued, "Arey, let me say what I want. So all the men in the Jamaat Khana would look at her and keep trying to say, 'Ya Ali, Madad.' And then, when they would go completely out of control, they would find sources to." Malika giggled. "What does out of control mean, Binny Masi? What would they do? Explode in their pants?" And Noni Appa, horrified, almost banged into the auto rickshaw that had suddenly halted in front of her. "Chee, not dirty like that. They would send proposal, that's all. And after that, your mother, always such a prude with her constant, 'No, Binny, I don't want to get a bad reputation,' would never even greet them back," said a giggling Binny. "But I think things have changed. If you really want to know what out of control is, Malla, then you have to look at your mother. These days, she's panting all over that yoga teacher, her boyfriend, Anandji." And imitating her sister with a wobbly falsetto voice, Binny continued, "Anandji, have a whiskey today. The weather is perfect for it." Turning that poor vegetarian Guju Bhai to an alcoholic, that also on my whiskey. Malika exclaimed, "Mom, you didn't tell me all this." Noni Appa, wanting to strangle her sister, said, "Ya Ali, it's nothing like that. Yes, I offered him a drink, and so sometimes he has one now when we play. Your Masi hates cards, so what should I do? Just keep playing by myself?" But the good-natured dribbling in the car didn't stop. And since Noni Appa could not turn her hearing aid off while driving, she just had to bear with her family, her eyebrows raised in exasperation, shaking her head at the sly digs. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabana ji. I mean, who better than Shabana ji to have read that with the kind and level of emotion and and the level of conversation that she brought to the book. Your thoughts again on on how Shabana ji read it?
Are you mad? She's an icon. What are you asking me?
Good, I just wanted you to say that.
Yeah.
You must also praise others. That's what I wanted. All right. Now, very excitedly, the first story that I read in your series of 4 short stories was The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad. I remember reading it, and very secretly, I felt like there's a film here as well. Like, I felt very strongly as a filmmaker, which is something that we never really spoke about. But I felt very strongly because it was a story of triumph. It was a story of progression. It was a story of a young girl really fulfilling her dreams in the best possible manner. It had all, in those pages, number of pages, and I know God knows we take so long to tell a story sometimes. Sometimes there are screenplays that can meander and go on and on. But you went through every beat, from triumph to emotion to rage to overcoming it to everything. I mean, all of that in a short span of the story. To me, it was one of the best of the series. What do you have to say?
It was a story that when I was writing The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad, halfway through I started feeling that my editor will murder me. She'll say, it's not your Mrs. Funnybones voice, which is apparently I don't know, it's like I'm possessed by this ghost that goes on. But, and I wanted to give it up. But I finished it and I sent it to her. And as luck would have it, she said, it's perfect. And then the story that I actually sent her, which I thought was perfect, and I said, I've nailed it. She said, you've nailed it so many times that it's full of holes. And she sent it back to me to redo. So that is what happens when you write. You actually don't know what you end up with. The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad is a story of a simple village girl who saves her community and the women in her community by a radical idea. And that's basically the core.
Well, very, very happily and excitedly, we have someone who's had a journey of her own to read a passage from The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad, from not knowing who the president of the country is to emerging as the strongest voice as a female actor of her generation. I was trying to give you a dramatic introduction, Alia. She just broke it.
I want to interrupt him. Since he's asked you this about the president, Karan, I want to ask you something. Can you please tell me what is a full form?
I'll pay you 500 and 1,000 rupees. Just shut up.
Just tell me, what is a full form of MNS? Just answer that. That's one thing.
I know what PMS is, and that's what I'm going through right now. That is what I'm going through right now. Anyway, thank you. I will not be answering any of your questions. I was going to say that she's had...
See, he did not know. Just rest easy. He doesn't know everything.
I know. I don't want to say anything politically correct or politically incorrect. I want to be silent. That is my stance these days. If it's possible, I'm maintaining a low profile.
Yes, very low.
That was not meant to be a joke. As I was saying, The Legend of Lakshmi Prasad talks about the triumph of a girl, and I truly believe this young child has triumphed from where she was and where she is today. I'm proud of her because she is my baby legend. I love you, Alia Bhatt. Please come on stage. Poor Ranbir and Alia, they have to read after Shabana Azmi. It's not fair. There should be a disclaimer.
Yes, there should be a disclaimer that I'm terribly nervous. I don't think I was so nervous before giving my first shot for my first film. Karan.
Yeah. No, I know. I feel
very
you.
fast. Dup, 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 dup. But I just want to say thank you for having me here. It's a very intelligent room. And a very wise room. I'm going to try and read very well. Bendre Prasad was very fond of his little daughter. He always told her that she reminded him of her grandmother. They had the same narrow hands and long face, the gap between the tip of the nose and the lips disproportionately large, but pleasing all the same. On balmy afternoons, he would sit with her after lunch and tell her stories from the Ramayana. One day he told her about Shravan Kumar, who looked after his blind parents, spending his whole life serving them. Engrossed in the story, he murmured, "That is why a son is so important for his old parents to lean on. With daughters, all our savings go away in giving and giving." Lakshmi, now 16, understood that he was talking about Sukruti, the intermittent demands by her in-laws and the last year for more dowry or gifts as they called it. But she didn't ask him about it. Just at the mention of her sister's name, her father's mouth would tighten and he would rub his bony collarbone wearily and say, "Sukruti is all right.
everything is all right, it is manageable. Till the day it wasn't, and a sunken-eyed Sukriti, her skin stretched like paper over each protruding rib, returned home, holding the gifts her in-laws had given her in return, burns on her back from boiling water and hot pans. Sukriti was back, and as they also discovered a few months later, looking at her growing stomach, she had not come back alone. They sent news of her pregnancy to her husband in Tulsipur, but no one came to take her back.
Well done, Alia. Thank you very much. That truly is like a story of great triumph, especially if you reach the end of the story. You feel really kind of rejuvenated, and you feel that power of that feeling. And I think that was the most special part of for me, that the feeling I got right at the end of the story. Now, we talk about The Sanitary Man, which of course, there's so much conversation about it by virtue of its title and also of the journey. And when I got to know all about it from you, and it was like, again, I said, there's a film there. Is there a film there?
Perhaps.
All right, because
it's a
again,
non-committal answer, perhaps.
All right, perhaps we'll do it. But what was your experience of how you discovered this story?
So, The Sanitary Man is based on Muruganathan Arunachalam. I call him Muruga because my tongue trips over his name, and also because he's a friend now. He is the inventor of the low-cost sanitary pad-making machine, and he works tirelessly to dispel taboos about menstruation, and he's a very funny guy. He has these one-liners. He doesn't take himself very seriously or his work in that manner where there's a certain whimsy about him. And I discovered him. I was doing some research for a column on menstruation, and I stumbled upon his story, and immediately it gripped me. This was something that the world needed to know. And if you think that this book is about feminists and women who are feminists, he is a bigger feminist than all of them put together. And
is it true that he actually didn't answer the
Yes.
emails from your husband's office?
So I began chasing him, but he was very evasive. And then finally, I got his number from one of my friends there who does TED Talks. And I called him. And first he told me, I actually don't talk to men, I only talk to women. And I was taken aback. I was like, why, what is that? So he said, no, by the time I explain to a man what I'm doing, half an hour's gone by.
Right.
And then I met him, and he said, you know, a lot of people have been writing to me. Abhay Deol has written to me. Some Akshay Khanna has written to me. So I said, no, that's Akshay Kumar, and he's my husband. So he was, you know, kind of all right. And then finally, after lengthy interviews, he agreed to let me fictionalize his story. So can we have a glimpse of his work?
Yes.
On that occasion, I saw my wife something carrying like this. I'm sorry, what is that I asked? My wife replied, it's none of your business.
The Sanitary Man. And of course, any particular reason why we requested Ranbir Kapoor to tell this story?
Because he is obsessed with sanitary napkins, and your last movie, you made him obsessed with love, unrequited love, poor thing. So let's call him on stage.
I'm trying to find the connection between unrequited love and a sanitary napkin. We'll hold that thought and, of course, call Ranbir Kapoor to read an excerpt from The Sanitary Man.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Twinkle, congratulations on your juggernaut of a book. Plug-in.
Juggernaut of a book.
When I was asked to read a passage from the book, I was really excited, and I messaged Twinkle saying that I'll bring my bestest English. And Pat came a reply saying that, don't worry, his English is as bad as yours. So just come and read. So I'm asked to read a passage from The Sanitary Man and a Sacred Land. But before that, I just want to read something which is on the third page of the book, which goes like, for Akshay. Each time there is a power cut, you, my friend, always have a flashlight handy. Prashant Batra submitted his story to The Guardian titled, The First Man to Wear a Sanitary Napkin. It was a 4-page article chronicling Bablu Kewat's journey from Mohana to Indore. And with that, troops of ruddy-faced journalists wielding straw hats and bottled water, along with the dictaphones, began descending on Bablu Kewat's workshop from all over the world. The Times of India was the first Indian newspaper to feature Bablu Kevat and his unique invention. A half-page story on page 6, sandwiched between an advertisement of Syntex water storage tanks and an announcement that wished Sardar Ranga Singh a very jolly birthday, Sarji. Bablu Kevat had started getting famous. There were television interviews where poker-faced anchors, not quite focusing on the work he was doing, with non-profit and women's group, kept trying to draw out salacious details of him wearing a pad and leaking blood all over himself. He was invited to speak at universities and companies and conferences across the country. Bablu found himself enjoying these talks. There was one rather memorable experience in Bhopal. It was a packed hall with a panel of dignitaries from around the world and attended by the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Employment. Bablu began his talk by pulling out a sanitary napkin from his pocket and waving it in front of the startled guest, asking, "How many men have touched a sanitary pad in their life?" When no one responded, he walked up to the minister and said, "Well, sir, here is your chance. Come, hold this. I promise it won't bite." The startled minister looked helplessly around, waiting for someone to rescue him, and with no escape in sight, gingerly took the sanitary pad in his hand. Bablu continued, You're feeling embarrassed holding that pad, aren't you, sir?" This shame in discussing menstruation, in holding a sanitary pad, is one of the biggest hurdles we face. It is as if menstruation is not a natural function, but a sin that women unwillingly commit through their uterus and have to hide away from prying eyes, lest they be declared guilty of the crime of bleeding. This shame is the reason why women take their stained pieces of cloth, wash them secretively, and hang them to dry in places where even the rays of sun cannot spot them. Then they end up using those moldy, bacteria-laden pieces of fabric and get diseases. Let us all refuse to be part of this game of shame, because it is nothing but a losing game for all humanity. The audience was spellbound and couldn't stop clapping. Taking his sanitary pad back from the hapless minister's hands, Bablu added with a twinkle in his eye, "And I would like to end my speech by thanking women and the menstrual cycles. Without them, this talk, along with our very existence, would not be possible." Later, laughing about the event, he confessed to Sarita, "Sarita ji, I told them only 10% of women in India used a sanitary pad. Actually, I fudged the number. It is only 5%. I just added 5% more on stage because I did not want to embarrass Bharat Mata so much in front of all the foreigners."
Thank you. Thank you. Now that is what you call a powerful vagina monologue. It truly is, in every which way. Thank you, Ranbir. Thank you for rendering it so well. And I think that comes to a close for all the special guests. Yes, I'll call you back. Actually, we made a photo. I'm sorry, I'll call you. I thought it was a...
What is this? Master of ceremonies.
Sorry, I take my role a bit too seriously. Yes, thank you. Vote of thanks.
Yes.
You want to stand up and thank people?
Yes.
All right, okay.
I'd first like to thank my editor, the brilliant Chikki Sarkar, who's just about to pop out Juggernaut's latest and most significant offering, as you can see. She's 8 months pregnant and all the way here. I'd like to then thank my mother. I am not half the woman you are, Mom, but that half seems to be enough. And I'd like to thank Balki and Swanand for your valuable inputs into this book. Merlin, Joseph, where are you? Stand up. Give us a wave. Stand up. Thank you for bearing with me. I've called up Merlin at all odd hours and asked her random questions. Once she was watching a movie and I rang her up and said, "So Merlin, when you die, where are you likely to be buried?" And she gamely, she said, "I have to think about it. I haven't really planned it. I'm pretty young yet." So thank you. My children, Arav and Nitara. Stand up, Arav. Stand up, don't be shy. Yeah. My heart bursts with joy just looking at you. So thank you for just being there, being alive, being healthy, and all those things. I'd like to thank my friend Karan. Come ahead. He is my dear friend. He is like the 100-rupee note. It's always in your pocket. You take it for granted, but when it comes to crunch time, you realize how valuable that bloody note is. Okay.
500 बोल देती तो क्या जाता तेरा?
Sorry.
100. Even there she kind of short-changed me.
Shabana auntie, thank you so much. That was a beautiful, beautiful reading. Ranbir and Alia, thank you very much. You all did a magnificent job. And now I have one person. I'm coming to it. You love my husband more than me.
Rightfully.
Yeah, right. And my husband, and this book is dedicated to him. He's my biggest cheerleader, my greatest support. He's a man who takes more pride in my work than anyone ever has, including my mother, who's all the time kind of, somebody came up to her and said, your daughter is a good writer, and she shouted and said, this jungly here, this jungly. So I'm really fortunate to have this man with me, and like Noni Appa and Anandji, I hope we continue playing rummy for the rest of our life together. Yeah. Thank you to all my friends, my family, everyone back there. And this means the world to me that you're all here. And I'm thrilled. Thank you.
And because we need the photo op, we would like the readers to please join us on stage, because that's more critical than her vote of thanks. And
पहली बार मैंने बुक रीडिंग किया है. आई वॉज वेरी नर्वस क्योंकि सबके सामने पहले तो शबाना जी पहले गई थी टू रीड, और उनके बाद उन्होंने जो लेवल सेट किया तो मैं तो बहुत ही नर्वस हो गई. बट इट वेंट वेल. बहुत ही छोटा सा पैसेज था एंड आई थिंक इट वेंट वेल.
क्योंकि यूएस सर्टिफिकेट भी मिल चुका है, आप फिल्म
बहुत ही एक्साइटेड हूँ, बहुत ही एक्साइटेड हूँ. सेंसर बोर्ड हैज़ बिन वेरी वेरी काइंड, वेरी जेनरस, वेरी स्वीट विद देयर वर्ड्स. और मुझे बस अभी फिल्म रिलीज करने की देर है एंड आई जस्ट वांट टू सी द ऑडियंसेस रिएक्शन.
प्रमोशन बहुत कम हो रही है क्या?
कम नहीं हो रही है. मैं सिंगापुर में शूटिंग कर रही थी और अभी वापस आई हूँ, तो अभी शुरू हुआ. आई थिंक yesterday was the first day. टुडे मैं एक डांस शो पे गई थी, कल इंटरव्यूज होगा. सो वील डू ऑल द लिटिल थिंग्स. दिखाई देंगे सून. सॉरी, आई थिंक ड्रैगन के बारे में बाद में बात करेंगे. इट्स टू सून टू टॉक अबाउट ड्रैगन राइट नाउ. मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं आई है. सो आई एम सेफ. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I haven't read the entire book, but the story that I read, the bits that I read, I was really utterly charmed by it. I really do think that Twinkle is a very special writer, and the good thing about her, as Chiki said, is that she writes with humor, which is subversive, and she deals with topics which are considered taboo, and she does it in this light kind of way. So it's really subversive, topical, and I think very important. I like all kinds of humor. I don't like anything that is vulgar. I don't find vulgarity funny. But apart from that, you see, because I come from a writer's family, I think the turn of the phrase, to use language in a way which is beautiful, which is what you find in books, that's what I really like. Thank you.
Reading that side. Reading that side.
Rolling.
Who's asking me the question? The pretty face? किताब अभी तक पढ़ी नहीं है. I need to say it here. अभी तक किताब पढ़ी नहीं है, लेकिन ज़रूर पढ़ूंगी. But knowing Twinkle, I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic book. Twinkle, Shrishti, my sister-in-law की best friend रही है बहुत सालों से. We have worked together. और जो वो लिखती है, जो वो है बहुत सालों के बाद, this is how Twinkle is, this is how we've known her, and she's just being herself, and she's always had these stories inside her, so I'm not even a little bit surprised about the books she's writing, and I wish her all the best, and I'm really, really happy for her. Sorry? My humor is, I like dark humor, yeah. It is about Twinkle's book, but anyway, I think it's a great move, and I think it's a great move. और तकलीफ ज़रूर होगी थोड़ी देर के लिए, लेकिन मुझे लगता है बिगर पिक्चर बहुत अच्छा है, और जो होगा अच्छा ही होगा, स्वच्छ होगा भारत, and that's a very, very good news. Of course, क्रेडिट कार्ड ज़्यादा यूज़ करना पड़ रहा है, ज़रूर थोड़ी दिक्कतें आ रही हैं, लेकिन आई थिंक ये छोटी है दिक्कतें इस हिसाब से देखा जाए कि बिगर पिक्चर बहुत अच्छा है. हैविंग सेड दैट, हम लोग लकी हैं और हेल्प है. आई एम श्योर और लोग हैं जिनको ज़्यादा दिक्कतें आ रही हैं, बट आई एम श्योर इट विल पास. थैंक यू सॉरी
What? How are you making her walk? Leave her. Rolling.
मुझे सबसे अच्छी लगी है नोनी आपा की स्टोरी, क्योंकि इसमें काफ़ी शी इज़ टेकन अ लॉट फ्रॉम आवर लाइव्स. I could see all the characters in our family, you know, bits from here and bits from there and bits from there. And जब मैंने इसको पढ़ा तो पहले तो एक सेकंड स्टोरी के अंदर I was chuckling, and then immediately after some time I had tears in my eyes, and the very next minute I burst out laughing, and I thought it was so beautifully structured, and there was so much feeling, emotional, and it really touched my heart. So that's my favorite story. भैया उसके सामने कुछ करना तो खतरे से खाली नहीं है. अगर मैंने कुछ बोल दिया या मैंने कुछ कर दिया तो मुझे पता है कि ये छपने वाला है या आने वाला है, तो बहुत संभल के काम करना पड़ता है. बिल्कुल जैसा उसका है, मुझे बहुत पसंद है. आई थॉरली एंजॉय. एक्चुअली हमारे यहाँ जब भी हम फैमिली साथ में बैठते थे तो एक ही क्लाउन हुआ करता था, वो ट्विंकल थी, और हम सब हंसते थे. तो इट गिव्स मी ग्रेट जॉय दैट she is able to spread that kind of laughter and humor with millions, and she shared it with millions of people. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.